All right, we're live, everyone. Welcome to the DroneDJ DJI Mavic Air 2 launch. A little bit less exciting than normal. We didn't get to go to an event in New York City. We're just here at our houses quarantining. But the good news is we do have a Mavic Air 2 with three good propellers. So let me introduce Sean Captain and Josh. Josh is based in Australia, and it's now tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So Josh Spires is in Perth, right? A little bit outside of Perth.
Yeah, Perth, just south of the river.
And Sean Captain is in San Francisco. So, and we see we have 30 people online. So welcome everybody. Please feel free to ask any questions on the sidebar there. Did you guys get it? Did you guys not get it? What do you think of it? What do you guys want to know? Josh and Sean, any questions about this thing? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit.
Did you get to test the video much at all?
You know, I did. Insert or embed a video of the 4K. It was only at 30 frames per second. That's the default. At the end of my review, so it's a long review. About 40 minutes in, there's a video sample of just kind of me coming in and out and panning around. It's quite nice. I will say that if you have the any of the protection stuff on, basically if you're doing anything fancy, it downshifts to 4K at 30 frames per second. So that's not fantastic. Actually, it's a little bit of a bummer, and it kind of like opens the door for a possible Mavic 3 to have the capability to do all the cool stuff, but also record at 4K 60 frames per second. I think that's kind of the idea there. But like, you know, let's compare here. Maybe I'll make my window a little bit bigger so it's easier for people to see. So this is the Mavic Pro, and this is so the bigger one is the Pro, sorry, the 2 Pro, and the smaller one you can see is the Air 2. So the smaller encasement on the 3-axis gimbal has higher specs than the bigger one, but you know the bigger CMOS sensor is going to let in better light, going to have a better picture. Initially, I would have to say like my results have kind of been like it's pretty close. It's too hard to call, which you know bodes well for this little guy. I'm $799, and it's pretty much matching the 2 Pro on everything, or doing better. You know, the specs, I think it's 34 minutes of flight time versus like 31 minutes of flight time. So the question is like, why would anybody get a 2 Pro at this point? What do you guys think?
Yeah, but to me, it seems like a step up from the 2 Pro in a smaller package.
Yeah,
which kind of leads for the Mavic 3 to be more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's inevitable. They have to have something up their sleeve there, and you know, we've talked to a couple of distributors who are like, might not be a good time to buy a Mavic 2. So
yeah,
they're probably waiting for something coming. So yes, the commenters are asking if it's in the DJI store. It's there. Use our links, please. Why no Zoom? That's a pretty good question. I guess it's something to leave for the Mavic 2. What makes it different from the Mavic Air? There's quite a few things. You know, I think the biggest thing is the flight time. It's bigger. Flight time goes up from 21 minutes to 34 minutes. There's like a huge step. You know, pretty much everything. It's not even a Mavic Air. It's more like a Mavic 2 Mini.
That made it faster and longer flight time, while it also got heavier. I mean, they made the drone bigger, and yet it also got faster, as fast and longer flight time.
Yeah, significantly heavier. It's 570 grams now, and it was at 4 something before. What? Someone asks, why no zoom? Was it considered? I'm sure it was considered. Look how small this lens is. I don't know if you can get a optical zoom. You probably could, but you got to leave something for the Mavic Pro line, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming. So Ruhan asked, when can we expect the Mavic 3? I'm going to say summertime, like June, July. That's my guess. What do you guys think?
Yeah, probably around there.
I mean, we're just guessing here. We have no solid stuff there. And of course, a lot of people want to know that. The quick shots are the same. I think so. There's a different app, so we're kind of learning differently. That does bring up a good point, though. You can see on the Mavic 2 remote, you've got two separate. You have a video record shutter and a regular photo shutter, and then on the the Air 2, you've only got one button, and that's for both. So whatever mode you're in, you're using that, or maybe it's a two-sided button. That might be it too. I didn't really have enough time to check that out. I should probably look into that.
I think there's a mode button that switches between video and photo. I think to the right of the right stick. I think.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, you could switch. Yeah, the remote's a lot simpler. I mean, there's no display on it like the old one. It's kind of strange that it's so big. Like, I don't know what all's in there. That, like, it's not a much bigger battery. It's not like heavier. There are internal antennas, so I guess that's one of the reasons it's bigger. But it doesn't really like immediately jump out like why this is so big. Like, there's a lot of wasted space like all around the edges.
Does it feel better in the hands?
What's that?
Does it feel better in the hands?
It does. It's more like a deep like an Xbox controller or something. Where this one, you kind of needed, the Pro, it doesn't feel quite as game controller-y, if that makes any sense. And the big thing is like having the screen on top versus the screen on the bottom. That's a big plus. Like I've already like sworn off the 2 controller. Maybe they'll make better controllers, or you can get that video controller. All right, I'm hearing some band composer. Sorry, not sure if I understand right and tuned in a bit too late. But what do you guys think of the improvements from the first Air? It's probably the biggest improvement I've ever heard of in a device. Literally everything across the board is improved by like a huge margin. Flight time is like 50% higher. Speed is faster. Cameras are better. Everything's improved a lot, and it's the same price. Or I think, Sean, what was the U.S. price of the Mavic Air before?
I think it was only $919.
That sounds right. So it was $919, and then eventually they dropped it down to $799, I think. And now you can buy it for like $599.
Yeah, you make it lower. Yeah.
So same price as it was, but even less than it started out at, and you get all these other things. It's kind of a no-brainer in my book. It still has 8 gigabytes of internal memory, and those come up as
more drone, less money.
Yeah, and the 8 gigabytes internal storage comes up as a separate when you plug in to the drone via USB-C. Comes up as a separate storage thing from your SD card, so you can kind of hold 2 different sets of videos on there. Robert Suspiro says, worth migrating from P4P version 1 to this new drone. Want to use the headset badly. I don't think it's the same thing there. What's that?
If you're looking for the smaller size, not
Yeah.
having to run around the big box.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Phantom 4 Pro is just, a monster comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
It's like maybe if you're fishing or delivering toilet paper, that's a good thing, but I don't know. Can this be used for mapping? I think so. I'm sure there's tons of people working on this kind of stuff. There was no watch event, just the press on the website. That's true. We were kind of expecting like a live stream or something, but they just threw up a YouTube video, and that's it. Any word on it meeting the new EASA certification in the EU? If it's not, it will become essentially useless in Europe in 2 years' time. I'm not familiar with that. How about you, Josh?
Haven't really looked at the European laws.
How about you, Sean?
Unfortunately, don't know either.
All right, we're a little bit in the dark on that one, so we'll have to get back to you guys on that.
I mean, we can fly in Australia fine.
You got 2 years. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
I'm sure DJI is working on whatever they need to work on to get legal in Europe. Van Composer says, would this be a good entry drone for a starter? I was looking at the Mavic Mini, but I need active track. Mavic 2 Pro would be overkill for me. Now, yes, I mean, if you're even considering the Mavic Pro 2 or 2 Pro, and you need active track, this is definitely the way to go. I don't know if it's a great beginner drone. I think the Mini might be better for that, or even get yourself a Tello just to play around in the house. You're stuck in lockdown, you need to fly around in the living room. Tello is fun for that. But this is something that you can get, put the propellers on, charge it up, go outside and fly it pretty easily. It's not the Fly More. No, what is it called? The Fly app. DJI Fly is a lot simpler for beginners, but even people who have used the DJI Pro 4 app will know how to use it. It's pretty nice, and it's the same one that comes with the Mini. Carmelo Treviso asked, does it come in pink? That's one thing that isn't better about this Air 2. It comes in one color, and that's this light, like army grayish thing. A little bit lighter than the Pro that you've seen around. It's fine. It's a little bit like if you're flying in dark skies, it's a little bit camouflage, but it's fine. The original Air obviously came in 3 colors, so I guess that is the one thing that is not better about this one. Did they say anything about ActiveTrack 3? Yes, they said quite a bit. It's kind of an improved version of ActiveTrack, and in the little use I did have of the Air before crashing it, I was able to kind of try ActiveTrack around trees. I should explain what happened in my crash a little bit. I was trying to film this drone with this drone, and I had my son flying the Air 2, and I was coming in for the flyby, but he didn't know that I was coming over for the flyby. So he started raising up right as I was flying by. And I was thinking, like, if this thing had a sensor on the top, maybe it would have seen the other drone and kind of like went out of the way. So like, this is the one weird, strange time that having a top sensor would actually make sense, like the Mavic 2 does. So that's a little bit of irony or whatever. Yes, 707 Madman says get a Skydio for ActiveTrack. I don't necessarily fully agree with that. I think Skydio's ActiveTrack is the best in the business. I want to put the Mavic Air 2 and theoretically the 2 or 3 Pro up against the Skydio 2. We're going to get a Skydio in May. Let me see. Yeah, sometime in May, Zach, who lives in Mississippi, is going to get a Skydio. So we're going to find out some way to put them up against each other. Skydio 2 versus ActiveTrack 3 from DJI. We'll see which one comes out on top. Morris Tompkins. Oh, we're now at 60 people. Morris Thompson says, Will DJI upgrade the Mavic Air to close to the Mavic Air 2? I don't see that happening. I mean, most of this stuff is hardware. So yeah, but I mean, the Air is still a good starter drone, and you can find it for $500 now. So it's not much more expensive than the Mini, and it's got 4 colors. AirSense. So AirSense is kind of Krish Kapathia asked about AirSense. AirSense is this thing that alerts you to helicopters and planes flying around. What's kind of interesting about this now is it's only being sold on Mavic Air 2s in North America because they ran out of parts for the drone in other geos, and it's more important in the North American geo. So North American Air 2s will have it, and ones outside of North America will not have it, which is kind of strange to me.
So would that affect battery life at all?
You would think so, and maybe even cost. I noticed that the leaker guy was saying that it was going to cost like $940 in China, and I know the Chinese and U.S. prices are usually pretty similar on the DJI drones. So I don't know. Why no smart controller support and combo out the gate? I think it does support. I don't know. We'll see. McTownsend says, "Hi guys, do you think the new DJI will do some sort of firmware update for the Zoom and the Pro?" I do think there's going to be updates for the Zoom and the Pro, but I don't think it's going to get the kind of specs that this thing has. It hits a hard limit on the bandwidth, which is at 100 megabit, and you can't really do 4K 60 frames per second at anything under 120 megabit bandwidth, and that's what the upgrade here is on the Air 2. So no AirSense in specs. That must Chris is saying there's no AirSense in specs. That's probably because you're not in the US, I'm assuming. I mean, that's just a wild assumption on my part. Will Andre Smut says, will AkiSync ever come to the Mini?
Probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, it's such a small drone. It just doesn't sound like something they would do. The cost and how far is that thing really going to need to go? AkiSync. So this was kind of weird in the specs. I'm not sure if you guys caught this. AkiSync allows us to go 10 kilometers in the US, the FCC. But if you look at the other geos, like the European Commission, I think it only says 6 kilometers. And I know some other geos had 6. I think China as well. So I wonder if that has anything to do with the AirSense or what? Maybe some weird geofencing or something. So more questions. It's capable of 4K 60 frames per second. Avinash Nising asks or says, that's true, but if you're doing any kind of trickery or using any kind of intelligence, it drops down to 4K at 30 frames per second, which is still good for a drone like this. Eric Carlin says, does it ship from China? Yes, it does ship from China. They are expecting the first wave to arrive to U.S. customers on May 11th or mid-May. Obviously, with the COVID situation, things are kind of up in the air a little bit more than usual, but we'll see. Carmelo Treviso asks, key feature, will GeoFence give Autel the edge even though the price is awesome? That it might. We're still waiting on our Autel 2 review. I've heard really good things about Autel and just the company in general, so we're excited about that opportunity. We'll see how it goes. Carmelo says, does it have an Umbrella processor? I'm not familiar with the processor on it. You guys know that? Anything about that Umbrella processor? All right.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I just know the Sony the image processor is a Sony IXS 586 thing. Michael Samaru, any thoughts that the remote is a major downgrade? Are the sticks removable? Yes, the sticks are removable. I wouldn't call this a major downgrade. It's definitely bigger though. Like you see, you can take it off, and they have a little spot down at the bottom for your sticks. You know, you have OcuSync too. You have the antennas inside. You've got the phone on top. You know, it would be nice if it had a display, but I guess most of that information's on the phone and on the app, so you don't have to worry about it too much. So, Michael, I don't know. It's definitely a downgrade if you have a case that doesn't have much room, like this one, for a big controller. But otherwise, I think it's fine. Smart controller will be compatible. Yes, ships from China. It will be. Site says it will be compatible with a future firmware upgrade. All right, so we're getting firmware that does quite a bit of stuff here. By just the drone or the combo. So my particular experience, I wrecked it day one. 3 propellers down. I would go with the combo. You get more propellers. You get 3 batteries. 3 batteries total. 2 extra batteries. You get some lenses. I think it's a good deal. The $988 US. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll definitely go for the combo with the ND filters.
Yeah. Panorama. Yeah, it's got panorama 8K, but I think it's upgradable. Twinning says, any idea how it does against the Skydio 2? That's the $1 million question, really. Skydio is having a hard time getting drones out. They can't even get customer orders, let alone review units out. So we're still waiting for Skydio 2. Have you guys played with the Skydio 2 at all?
I'm good in Australia,
Yeah, I've just seen some videos. I think most of the ones that were out were folks in the San Francisco Bay Area, where they're based. I think they're based in like at that playground place near Palo Alto. So I think they had some for local reviewers. Let's see. Any idea how it does against Skydio? That's what we just said. Robert Suspiro says, how does it get to 48 megapixels with a 12 megapixel sensor? Do the 48 megapixel photos look good? So I took a couple photos. They look as good, I would say, as a 20 megapixel Mavic 2 Pro, which is all you could really ask for. I think they do. It's called like this Breyer thing where they. What is how would you explain it, Sean? I'm not great at it.
It's I forget the details, but it's the way that the color filters are arranged on the sensor, and I think there's more of one kind. I think green or something like that. So it's not just like a typical like red, green, blue. It's a somewhat different arrangement that is supposed to be more color. Had better color fidelity to it.
Okay. How is Seth doing 2 simultaneous live streams? One in which he's alone and wearing his glasses, and this one. Oh, I posted the video as a premiere, so that's how I'm doing that. That was from me earlier, John Robb. But view both at the same time. I'm sure they're both great. Bob Dempsey says, can you get an iPad mini in it? That is a great question. I don't think so. And I don't have an iPod mini or iPad mini, but look, it's not a big, I mean, I have an iPad and this thing's certainly not getting in there. So I'm going to say no, but there's usually third-party folks who have all the answers to these questions. I don't know why DJI doesn't make it the iPad mini or whatever the default. It's so much better, and they have the outdoor viewing on iPads is really good. So good question. Anyone knows when it's going to be available on Amazon rather than buying it from the DJI store? Usually Amazon. So DJI. So we've been talking about this a little bit lately. DJI isn't a great partner to its other resellers in the beginning. So basically, it wants to fill all the orders itself. Obviously, it's going to make more on each sale if it goes directly through their channel than, letting other people make some money on it as well. So the problem is like Amazon will get some, and Adorama will get some, and B&H will get them, and all the other places will get them, but they usually don't get them until DJI has like pushed out like all the orders it can push out. So Amazon will get it, but usually you're not gonna. If you want it day one, the best thing to do is order it from DJI. If you want it, within a week or so, then maybe using some of that Amazon gift cards that you have or whatever works out. So let's see. Spending my $1,200 stimulus money on this, that's your call. I don't know if that was the intent, but if this is your job, this is something you need, good for you. I'm not going to judge. Van Composer says, anybody knows when it'll be available on, that's Amazon again. Michael Samaru, given this release, any thoughts on when the Mavic Pro 3 will release? Thanks for all the info. You're welcome. And we are kind of pinpointing a summer release. The reason is that if it was ready now, they would have said something now, but this is so good that they can't just leave the Mavic 2 hanging like this. It's like the Mavic Air 2 is as good or better than the Mavic 2 in almost every way. So you can't have two products like, a heavier, bigger, older product at $1,500 and this product at $800. Just like you can't do it. Nobody's going to buy the two ever. So maybe they'll drop the price down to $1,000 or something. But I do think it's very imminent. Let's see. Given this release, GearBest sucks. So does Banggood. I don't have any experience with those guys. I've used AliExpress a few times for like electric bike parts, and they've worked out. Will the DJI goggles work with the Mavic Air 2? I believe so. Josh, you know about that?
No, but in theory they should be able to.
Right.
Probably with a firmware update.
Right. LC Prod says hi from Italy. Twinning says, I was a little late to the chat. How do you like it? I love it. It's I think we're all in agreement that this is a big step up. Great for the price, kind of matches the Mavic 2 Pro in a lot of ways. Robert Suspiro says, I wish it worked with the goggles. We think it might. We don't know for sure. That's not true because I own a Mavic Air, but a Mavic 2 versus Mavic Air 2. I'm not sure what he means there. Oh yeah, I can bring the questions into the thing. I should have done that from the get-go. I hope for a new Mavic 2 Pro, yes, or maybe a Mavic 3 Pro. Malik means king. I don't like that it doesn't have a top sensor. I crashed into a tree and I've crashed into auto takeoff with Mavic Air. Well, I agree. It would have been nice if it had a top sensor. We've all crashed, I guess. Micah means king. Also, no side sensor sucks too. Yeah, no side sensors. Wow. I thought we had side sensors for some reason. Nope, I guess just front and back. Front,
yeah,
back, bottom. Maybe these go left and right enough to kind of send some stuff off to the side. Get that? Quality was already good on the Mavic Air. Yep. Yeah, this thing feels really solid. Like that's one of those things. Like you pick up some things and they're a little plastically, a little bendy. This thing just feels like really solid. And I crashed it, and it's still in good shape. So besides the propeller, and it landed with 3 bad propellers. So got to give it to it. Mavic 2 Pro should get 4K 60 frames per second if possible. I think that's the only software related because hardware is good enough, I think. I agree. The hardware bandwidth threshold is 100 megabits per second, and I don't think you can get 60 frames per second at 4K with 100 megabit bandwidth. So I'm imagining that they're not going to give the Mavic 2 Pro 60 frames per. I mean, they could, I guess, give it 45 frames per second if that would interest anybody, but I don't know. We got a thumbs up there. You always crash when you think you won't. I've crashed at beaches, in my house, in my neighborhood, on shoots. Yep. Is it better than the Mavic 2 Pro? I'm going to say yes. I mean, like, if I didn't have to pay anything for the device, would I rather have a Air 2 or a 2 Pro? And I think I would rather have the Air, mostly because of its portability, flight time, and the video at 60 frames per second. What do you guys think? You get to have one of these. Which one do you pick?
Definitely Mavic Air too.
Air? Yeah? Okay. Everybody's on board with the Air being the best.
If you're really looking for the camera on the Mavic 2, maybe if you want the zoom or something, but it seems like otherwise, yeah, go with the Air.
Yeah. All right, let's see where I lost my spot. Oh wow, we've got enough comments to push it up the page. Okay, I gotta scroll up a little bit. DJI website says Mavic Air 2 is not compatible with any DJI goggles models. Well, maybe there's a firmware update for that. We'll find out that, but we were corrected on that. So officially no on the goggles as of now. I love the Mavic Air. All right. Thanks for the info. You're welcome. I live in a climate with heavier winds, so the weight would work best for me. That's a good point. A heavier drone doesn't get pushed by the wind as easily. Other options are 4K and raw shooting. Twinning comes back. As far as the follow functions on the Mavic 2 Air, have you played with that function? I wanted to. It was the next thing on my list. And then, I busted the propeller. So no, I'm waiting for new propellers. We'll have a review of that kind of stuff coming up soon. And I have played with the original Skydio, which has a really good follow. And I think this is going to be kind of at least as good as that. If they have a trade-in program for Mavic Air, Mavic 2 Air, I do it. Yeah, that's something DJI could probably do some pretty good work on. I know some third-party trade-in programs. Joining on says, R. Alan Ingalls, once smart controller compatibility is introduced in a few weeks, you'll be able to connect your goggles to the smart controller. There you go. Does it have precision landing? Yeah. So if you hit the home button, it comes back to where it started. I don't know if you're looking for more than that, but it's pretty precision. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Hello there, watching from Seattle, Washington. Is ADS-B sense incorporated already in this drone? I believe so. I'm getting all the acronyms mixed up at this point, but we'll have to go look.
Yeah, it should. I mean, in the North American ones, it would be.
Right.
I mean, that's the kicker. If it's other regions, it won't have it.
AccuSync. So it comes with AccuSync 2, and that allows it to go all the way to 10 kilometers in the US or 6 kilometers in other places. Nope. Join late. Any mention of AccuSync? Yeah, we've talked about AccuSync a few times. It's fantastic. In my short flight time, I did notice that as I got further away, I would turn left and then wait another second, and then the drone would start turning left. I think that's a function of the distance, not necessarily any latency time. For the most part, when the drone was close by, it was pretty responsive. 2 for the price of a Pro 2. Yep, that's Carmelo Treviso makes a great point. You can get 2 of those things. I don't know why you would, but maybe get the Fly More and an iPad. I don't know. Damn, you just hurt my feelings. I got the Mavic Pro 2. LOL. Sorry, Maddie Mad 424. Malky means king. I don't care so much about the 4K 60. I just slow down 4K 30 to 24 frames per second. That's a good point. HDR photo is good. So that's another thing. HDR, you can't do 60 frames per second at HDR. You can only do 30 frames at HDR. He takes HDR photos on my Mavic Air, and it's really hard to do when there's a lot of wind since I need to take many. Yep. What about quick shots? Can you verify the asteroid is there still? There is that quick shot, like what is it called? 357 or something like that.
Asteroid is there.
Yeah.
Asteroid in there, yeah.
DJI ships orders from China. Do they have to pay import duties if located in the USA? I think what they do is they ship a container, they deal with all that stuff, and then once they're in the US, they distribute. Actually, they probably don't do a container for this. Probably going on a plane. But I know you don't have to pay import duties. They take care of that for you. So that's, what about quick shots? Yeah, it's on there. Asteroids there. Thumbs up. ADSB, only American version, not in Europe. That's bad. I'm assuming Ronnie Nintz is not in the US. I'm sorry for the bad news. If you want, you could order from an American company and have it sent to you if you want that. We'll see. Sorry, I joined late. Any talk on propeller noise? Good question. Propeller noise is way quieter than the original Air. It's got the is there a word? There probably is for these propeller tips that seem to make everything a lot quieter. They kind of, like, if you see, they curve up at the tip, kind of like jets, and I think they just, like, they mellow the sound a little bit more. I've noticed. You guys know anything about that?
No idea.
Okay, so like when the Mavic 2s came out, and they were so much quieter than the regular Mavic Pro, it was because of these propellers. So I'm just assuming it's the shape. What's the max wind speed you can fly this drone in? It's on the spec sheet. I looked at it. It's in my video. I can't remember offhand. I think it was actually in like meters per second. So I don't even know what that. You have to bring a calculator with you.
8.5 to 10.5 meters a second.
Yeah. What is that? Who's that helping? Like when do you get like the forecast in meters per second? All right. Just, get out the calculators, everyone. Line of sight rules, distance doesn't matter, more about signal loss. How good is the actor track? I will have more information on that in the coming week. Connect a smart controller. I think we've covered that. I meant many different exposures for HDR photography. It only lets me enter 200 characters. So if it's windy, I got to take like 5 shots and line them up on OG Mavic Air to get HDR. It's hard to do. All right. DJI prepay the taxes to the courier, therefore no import duty is payable to customers. Upgrading from DJI Spark, all I ever wanted: battery, AccuSync, camera, gimbal, resolution, really cool and very well priced. I agree with Peter Casper here. Can the drone's body USB-C port be used to charge its battery? Great question, Raul. Shahadat Actor. Yes, it can. So I tested that this week, which is great because you really don't need, if you're charging at home, you really don't need to pull out the battery, plug in the charger. You can just throw it in there, the USB-C, and you're charging, and then you have another USB-C for the controller, and you're in good shape. Whereas another downside here, this guy charged via micro USB, which hopefully we're getting rid of those. So that's good about the Mavic 2 Air. I like that it has auto HDR photography. I just want to see if it's as good as doing it manually. All right. Svetoslav Slavov. I just sold my original Air Fly More combo for $700 and pre-ordered my Mavic Air 2. This guy is smart. The longer range and the flight time are worth the extra $300 for me. Capable to connect to a smart controller. Talked about that. They're called winglets, and they reduce turbulence at the tip of the blade, therefore quieter. That's the word I was looking for. Guys, just check DJI specifications on the Air 2, and the goggles are not supported, but who knows what upgrades can bring. Great work, guys. Thanks, Mick. And then we're kind of getting to the end here. So any last questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace. Canadian Drone Pilot says, ordered mine tonight. DJI will make it compatible with the existing smart controller with some near future software updates. Cheers. All right, guys. I think we've been chatting for 40 minutes now. A lot of great questions from our audience here. Really enjoyed this. Any last words, Josh or Sean?
Not from me.
Famous last words. All right, we're going to sign off then. Thanks again for coming out. Appreciate the questions, and we'll talk soon.